So in this video, you're going to learn how to set yourself up for success before you start house hunting and the essential strategies in order to navigate the entire process from start to finish. And we're going to accomplish this by breaking this down into three different phases: the before, the during, and the after phases. So you're going to know exactly what's going to happen and focus on each days, making the entire process easy to understand and less overwhelming. If we haven't met yet, my name is Ryan, and I help home buyers just like you who are struggling with the daunting process of navigating the idea of, and after helping 3,500 home buyers over the last 19 years, I've guided countless people through the before, during, and after phases of buying a home, ensuring they make informed decisions every step of the way. So buying your first home can feel like you're standing at the edge of a diving board. I know you're feeling that knot in your stomach and the excitement is there, but underneath, there's that nagging fear. Like, what if we end up making a wrong choice? What if I end up regretting it later? It's a scary thought, but trust me, you're not alone in feeling this way. Many first-time homebuyers are intimidated by the fear of making a mistake as they embark on this huge life decision. So the first thing I ask my customers to do is you got to figure out what your ideal monthly payment is. Like if you were waving a magic wand, what would you want your ideal payment to be? And after that, you're going to set the most important number that you need to know before you start anything else. And it's going to be what's your walkaway number. So the walkaway number is basically the number that the monthly payment that is $1 higher than what your absolute maximum is. So the way that we're going to look at this is if your dream house comes along and the payment on that home is $1 higher than this walkaway number, then you're going to have to walk away from the dream home. So by setting this expectation for what your walkaway number is up front, you're going to have an easier time making a logical decision versus an emotional one if you hadn't thought about what your walkaway number is going to be. And this is going to leave you feeling less stressed when the time comes to make that hard decision. The next thing that we're going to talk about is the amount of cash that you're going to need in order to make all of this happen. So what I do is I call these the three buckets. So in order to buy a home, you're going to have to fill three buckets. So bucket number one is your down payment. So the down payment can range anywhere between $0 and all the way up to 99% of the loan. So this is your down payment, and this is what a lot of people construe as the only amount of cash that they're going to need. All right, so the second bucket that you're going to need to fill is what's called closing costs. So closing costs are hard costs for the lender, like myself, or the title company who you typically won't meet until you are in contract in a home. So right away, the first thing that's usually going to happen is I'm going to end up pulling your credit. So a credit report for us costs about $75. And as soon as I do that, we are going to be charged for that. So things like the credit report, the appraisal, title searches, those kind of things, the title company and my company, we're going to accrue over time. And at closing, you're just going to reimburse us back for those hard expenses that we paid for to get you to the finish line. Now, also in this could be potentially points. Sorry for the bad handwriting. So what points are additional fees that a lender will charge you to make the rate look better. Now, in this high rate environment, you are going to have a lot of lenders that are automatically going to charge you points, which is going to balloon your closing costs and how much cash you need at closing. So if you want to get as skinny as possible for your cash due at closing, you are going to have to try to do a loan with no points. So once again, that'll bring down your bucket two. All right, so bucket three is kind of the wild card. So bucket three is your taxes and insurance. Now, if you're not putting 20% down, you are going to have an escrow account. And what an escrow account is basically a pseudo checking account that is in your mortgage's name. Not your name, not the name of the address, not the bank's name, but your mortgage's name. So what's going to happen is each month you are going to fill that escrow account with 1/12, so there's 12 months of the year, of your property taxes and 1/12 of your homeowner's insurance. Now, when you go to closing, that account has $0 in it. So you're going to have to fill that, which is in essence, bucket three. So bucket three, once again, is your taxes and insurance. So when you go to closing, the amount of money that's going to be coming out of your checking account and the number you're probably looking for up front is going to be your cash due at closing. So your cash due at closing, once again, is when you total up bucket one, bucket two, and bucket three. So that is going to equal your cash. So you're likely saying, well, I don't have that much saved up. Well, don't worry. There are programs that can get you the missing cash And a good loan officer can help you bridge that gap. All right, so here's something else that I see happen really often is you do not move money around. So you're thinking that you have a 401k here, a couple checking accounts, a savings account, a money market. And if you don't know what those things are, that's okay. But what a lot of people have is they have cash sitting in a bunch of different accounts. So here's a pro tip. You do not want to hear this too late, but do not make any big financial moves before making an offer on a home. I'm talking about shifting large amounts of cash from one account to the next. So that way it's all sitting in one place. The reason for this is because every movement of money from one account to the next leaves a paper trail, and your loan officer is going to have to verify all of the money moves that you made. So that's lots of account statements, lots of canceled checks, lots of things to prove that that money belonged to you and you're not getting a gift or you had cash sitting on the sidelines. So if you're moving money around, your lender will ask for documentation for each transaction to confirm it is legit. It sounds minor, but when you're very close to closing, every single day counts. Getting extra documentation can slow things down, and sometimes by weeks, which is the last thing that you want when you're trying to get to the finish line. Here's another fairly common mistake that I see anxious home buyers make. They start trying to pay off their debts before they start talking to a lender, thinking it's going to make them look better. Well, this actually causes two different issues. So when you close that credit card or that car loan, you're actually going to be dropping your credit score, which is the opposite thing of what you wanted to do. So I actually had a client who a long time ago, she was in process of building her house. So when we first started the process, she had a bunch of debts and her credit score was about a 750. Well, fast forward about 6 months and she paid off every single thing that she owed and her score dropped 50 points right before we went to closing. So if you pay off debts, your credit score is likely to drop, and that's the last thing that you want before you go to try to buy a house. The second thing this is going to do is this is going to delete how much cash that you have in the bank. And that's not something that you necessarily want before you're trying to get approved for a home loan. If you pick the right lending partner, they can advise you of what debts need to be paid off at closing or after closing. The emotion of wanting to look as good as you can for the lender and also not having as much debt when you apply for the home loan could actually be the thing that keeps you from getting a home loan for longer and hurt you when it comes time to take the step forward. So if you pick the right lending partner, they will advise you on the most efficient path to get you where you want to go. And speaking from personal experience, there is zero judgment when it comes to looking at someone's finances. If we don't get you what you want and help you win, we don't get paid. So speaking of your lender, have you ever tried to buy a house without knowing exactly what you can afford? It's kind of like showing up to a buffet blindfolded. You're going to leave hungry and probably pretty confused. So let's go ahead and fix that before we get too far down this rabbit hole. All right, so first things up, let's go ahead and decode the approval process. There are 3 levels, and trust me, you want to know the difference. It's critical to figure out your home loan first, specifically before you go talk to a real estate agent. Now, here's why. Because the first question out of their mouth is likely going to be, what can you afford? Unless you're still hunting for a lender, then it makes sense to chat with an agent first. Okay, so we're going to break this down piece by piece. So there are a couple of different levels of getting a home loan or getting pre-approved. So with the pre-qualification, here's basically what that means. So just imagine that you and I are at lunch one day and we're talking about real estate, and someone next to us overhears us and comes over and starts asking questions. And they ask, okay, so what can I qualify for? What do you think I can get approved for a home loan? So what I do is I pull out a napkin and I basically say, yeah, your credit score is this, your income is that, how much cash do you have in the bank? Oh yeah, okay, so that's good. Okay, so based upon what you're telling me, you should be able to buy a house. Now what this is basically a guess by me to tell you that you can or can't buy a house. Now, that is what a pre-qualification means. That doesn't equate to much in the ability to be able to make an offer on a home. So pre-qualifications are basically a guess by the loan officer if you can or can't buy the house. All right, so the next thing is a pre-approval. So this is better than a pre-qualification. And the reason it's better than a pre-qualification is because I'm actually having you fill out an online application. And with that, I'm going to be able to pull credit. And I'm also going to ask you for things like pay stubs, W-2s, bank statements, those kind of things. So that way I can verify the information that's on the application. Well, so the problem with a pre-approval is loan officers are human. And since they are human, they are prone to making mistakes. So we did a study not that long ago that showed our process, our time to get a client from just getting started to keys in their hand is about 10 hours, 10 working hours on our side. And what usually happens is most loan officers only spend about 30 minutes getting you pre-approved. And the reason that's a problem is because there are still so many things that can go wrong with a pre-approval if you're just basically doing a cursory glance. So the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to talk about getting a full approval. So what a full approval is taking the application that you gave us, the income docs that you gave us, the pay stubs, the W-2s, the bank statements, and now we're going to be sending it into an underwriter. So what an underwriter is basically a loan officer like myself. And the distinction between a loan officer and underwriter is a loan officer, the person that you're talking to, doesn't have the authority to actually give you the money for the house. They don't. So what's going to happen instead is they are going to send your file, your home loan, to an underwriter. Now, the underwriter, you'll never get to talk to the underwriter. Only I get to talk to the underwriter. But the underwriter actually knows the guidelines the same way that I do, but they have the authority to give you the money. So most loan officers that you're going to be talking to don't want to take this extra step. And the reason for that is just because they don't want to take the time to ensure that your loan is rock solid before you make an offer on a house. However, on our team, what we have found is instead of just investing 30 minutes into your home loan up front, we're going to invest about 7 hours. So I highly suggest that in order to make your offer more attractive to the seller, and we're going to go over that here in a little bit, I highly suggest that you get a full loan approval before you start looking at houses, because what that's going to do is that's going to make you sleep better at night knowing that everything's done. It's going to make your agent sleep better at night knowing that they're not spending time on someone who can't close or get approved for a home loan. And here's the kicker. It's also going to make your offer more attractive to a seller. And it's really the seller that we need to try to appease. But once again, I'm getting ahead of myself. Okay. So first things first, when you're looking at picking a lender, you need to pick a lender who is willing to do a full approval and not a pre-qualification, and not stop at a pre-approval, because a full approval is going to be your ticket to sleeping better, having a better process, closing faster, and getting the offer accepted on the house that you want, which is the whole reason why you're doing this, is to get into a home. So now on to picking the right lender for you. Now this is where it gets tricky, because lenders come in 3 different flavors. They come in good, they come in fast, and they come in cheap. So a good lender can be one of those things. The best lenders can be 2, but no lender can be all 3 at once. So we're going to break down what good, fast, and cheap means. So a good lender is someone who doesn't make mistakes, who makes you feel safe, who is able to do a good job and get your offer accepted. A fast lender is someone that at 5 o'clock on a Friday, they check out, they go to the golf course, they hit the beach, and you're not going to hear from them until Monday at 9 a.m. You're also, if you send them an email asking a question or you need a payment ran, they're going to respond to you, I would say within an hour is pretty reasonable. And what cheap means is they prioritize being a low cost leader. So they have lower interest rates, and they also have cheap fees or lower fees. Now, so here's the thing is, once again, no lender can be all 3. The best ones can be 2. So you really need to decide which 2 are important to you. Is it going to be good? Is it going to be fast? Or is it going to be cheap? So if you need speed, you might sacrifice some costs. If you are looking for the best rates, be prepared for a longer, maybe bumpier road. A good lender will understand your unique needs and be willing to adjust their approach accordingly. So you got to make sure that you pick wisely, or you might end up with a loan that feels like a slow motion train wreck. And if you can't tell which flavor your lender is, you got to make sure that you're asking them directly. So the next thing that we're going to talk about is you can't just shop for interest rates. So everyone who has not bought a home in a long time or ever, they're going to prioritize rate as the number 1 question, but it's actually the last question that you need to consider. So you need to consider the lender's reputation too. A strong lender is crucial, as they need to have strong relationships with local real estate agents. This can significantly enhance your offer's appeal. Now, I mean, just imagine it, a listing agent who receives 2 offers from 2 different buyers, one backed by a lender with a stellar reputation, and the other one who is from somewhere in a different state that no one's heard of before. So if the seller's agent is going to prioritize and protect their client, which one are they likely going to pick? The next most important step is you need to do a little bit of light stalking. You can even Google the lender's name along with the word mortgage to start stalking them. No, now I'm being serious about this. You got to do your research. Look for reviews, look for testimonials, and their general standing in the community. You want a lender who will not only get the job done, but also has the trust of local agents. And that can really be the thing that seals the deal for you. So for our team speaking specifically, we prioritize getting your offer accepted. I mean, think about it. Why are you watching this video? Is it to look at homes? Is it to get pre-approved or to talk to lenders? Or is it to actually buy a house so you can move on to the next chapter of your life? So for that reason, getting your offer accepted is our number one priority. All right, so moving to the most important partner that you need to find. If you're thinking that you can trust your buddy's cousin who just got their real estate license, yeah, that's going to be a recipe for disaster. It's like trusting a toddler with a birthday cake at a birthday party, and I don't even want to go there. So the first thing you want is an agent who knows their stuff. Look for full-time agents that have experience under their belt. What you're looking for is those agents who aren't just in it for a quick commission grab at your expense. If they've handled multiple transactions per year, they're more likely to know the ins and the outs of the market. So to be clear, the lender is going to help you find the money and the agent is going to help you find the home. So just like with your lender, their local reputation matters. It's kind of like ordering food. Would you trust a restaurant with 0 reviews? I would probably say not. So the right agent will have the experience to guide you through the maze of listings and neighborhoods, and let's be honest, all the drama that can come along with buying a home. And speaking of expertise, let's chat about the negotiation skills. I've seen some of my top agents that I work with here locally pull off some amazing negotiation feats, like securing a home at a price that would make your jaw drop, or getting credits that I didn't even think were possible, or getting the seller to pay for things that I didn't even think were on the table. Meanwhile, sometimes I feel like I'm stuck doing the job of a rookie agent or a low performing agent just to keep my head above water and keep my clients going to the finish line. So you want someone who can get you the best deal and negotiate the best terms on your behalf. A seasoned agent will know all the tricks of the trade, and they can actually help you save money and navigate potential negotiation issues and places where a lot of home buyers make mistakes. They'll have your back when it counts, fighting for you to get you that sweet deal on the home that you're wanting. You also likely want to work with someone who is full-time. Imagine you've been shopping for homes for weeks and the right home finally shows up, and now you have to wait to go see it until your agent finishes their shift at Home Depot. By the time they get to you, they could be exhausted and you're getting their leftovers, and the house might even be gone. All right, let's talk about a huge temptation that a lot of home buyers have, and that's going straight to the listing agent to represent you as the buyer. Sure, it might seem like they know more about that specific house, or they might be able to cut you a better deal because there's no buyer's agent, but it's a trap. You want someone in your corner who's dedicated to just you, not someone who has a responsibility to do what's best for the seller. This is called dual representation, and it can lead to conflicts of interest very quickly. And you deserve someone fighting solely for you and your best interest. So a big no-no is you don't want to work with the listing agent. All right, so the next thing that you want to get familiar with is agency agreements before you go too much further. These are contracts and they can be a little bit tricky. So think twice before committing to a long-term agreement or partnership with an agent. You don't want to be locked into a partnership that feels more like a bad blind date than a real estate transaction. You should feel comfortable with your real estate agent, like you can call them at 2 a.m. with a question about a weird stain that was on the carpet or the ceiling in your potential new home. So trust me, before you sign any long-term commitment with any real estate agent, you need to make sure that you have an agent who's going to be a good fit for you. Now, here's a little secret that most people won't tell you. Most people in real estate get paid commission. That's how this whole game works. But if you have an agent who isn't closing enough sales and is struggling to pay their own bills, they might try to talk you into something that helps them get paid faster, but ultimately hurts you in the end. They might push you towards homes that aren't a right fit to earn a quick paycheck. So you got to do your homework and make sure your agent isn't commission hungry and are going to look out for your best interest first. So make sure that you choose wisely. So choosing the right realtor can make or break your home buying experience. Look for experience, avoid dual representation, and understand agency agreements. With the right agent by your side, you'll navigate the real estate jungle with confidence and maybe a little bit of flair. Remember that it's your home and making sure that you've got someone fighting for you all the way through. If you need a recommendation of a top agent in your town, check the description and I'll hook you up. All right, so you put in the work researching and budgeting and getting pre-approved, and now you're ready for the exciting part, the house hunting. Congratulations, the before phase is done. But before you rush into your first house that you go see, let's talk about balancing dreams and reality. If I had to guess, you're probably picturing a castle with a moat or a drawbridge. And spoiler alert, you might end up with a place with a little bit of character, like my first house that was built in 1890, which I'm pretty sure was haunted. So the first thing that we're going to talk about is balancing your wants and needs. So as you kick off starting to look for homes, it's critical to create a list of your must-haves versus your nice-to-haves. You got to think of your essentials, like a solid roof over your head and enough bathrooms to avoid family squabbles, versus those dreamy perks like a granite countertop, a home gym, or a library for all those books you swore that you would read one day. So you got to focus on what truly matters, and you got to be ready to flex or be flexible on the cosmetic stuff. The wallpaper, the paint colors, the countertops, that stuff does not matter. You can't change walls in your house as easily as you can change carpet. I get it. The house might have bright orange bathroom tile that screams the 90s, but remember, paint and fixtures can be changed. But what you really can't change is a cracked foundation or a weird layout. You're not going to be just looking for a pretty fix. You're going to be wanting something that fits your overall lifestyle, because you're going to be living in the house, not necessarily just looking at the house. The next thing that you're going to want to do is you're going to want to run the numbers first. Now, before you get all starry-eyed over that historic home or any home, so here's the game changer, and this is a non-negotiable to work with our team. You have to send the addresses to your lender by text or email or calling them before you go see the home. Now, the reason for this is going to help you dodge any unexpected payment surprises that can actually leave you with a lot of regret after you move in or you make an offer and get it accepted. Your lender can actually give you a projected monthly payment and alert you to any potential issues before you go waste your time falling in love with the house that's out of your budget. So imagine this, you walk into a home and you instantly get all the feels, only to find out that the monthly payment could actually rival the worst student loans that you've ever seen. So it's not fun, but it does happen. So by having your lender do a little homework for you first, it's going to save yourself the headache of getting too attached to something that simply won't work financially. It's kind of like going to a fancy restaurant and realizing that you can't pay the bill after you've eaten. And that's going to get really awkward, and it's totally avoidable. So the last piece of advice that I can give you while you're out house hunting is do not ignore your real estate agent's advice. You do not know better than them. You know your situation better than them, but you do not know how to make all this work better than them. Now, this is where it becomes really important that you have an agent that has experience, can negotiate, and can see things that you can't. So do not ignore your real estate agent's advice. This is only to your benefit and not to your detriment. So as you dive into house hunting, remember, it's all about balance and preparation. You got to jot down your needs. You got to keep an open mind about your wants and maintain a close eye on those numbers. That way you can actually steer clear of unnecessary stresses and get you closer to finding the home that truly fits your life without any nasty surprises. All right, so now let's go ahead and get out there and start the search for your perfect place. All right, so let's assume that you found the house and you're getting ready to make an offer. The next thing you need to consider is getting the seller on your side. You have to remember that you're competing with a lot of other home buyers out there, and you need to focus on what the winning offer is going to be. It's a good idea to avoid lowballing at all costs. In today's market, throwing out a ridiculously low offer is not going to get you the results that you're looking for. Sellers have likely done their homework too, and they see right through your strategy. So instead of getting the deal that you're hoping for, you just might end up getting no response at all. No one wants to be that person, so aim for something that's realistic and also appealing to the seller. Remember, you're trying to win them over and not scare them off. So being realistic and being competitive is a huge advantage for most home buyers. When you're making an offer on a home, reflect the home's true value in the current market condition. This means doing a little bit of detective work. So your agent will look at other recent sales and will advise you what the winning offer should be. So making a solid, informed offer not only shows that you mean business, but it also positions you as a serious contender against the other home buyers you're competing with. You want the seller to look at your offer and think, wow, this person really gets it, and not, who does this person think they are? So as you prepare to make the all-important offer, remember, think about the seller, avoid the temptation to lowball, and be realistic with your numbers. Approach with this strategy in confidence, and you'll be one step closer to getting the house that you want. So moving forward, let's assume that you got your offer accepted. Now let's talk about one of the biggest steps of the home buying process, and a lot of first-time home buyers feel a little bit nervous about, and it's the home inspection. Think of it kind of like a healthy checkup or your annual visit for the house that you're making an offer on. It's your chance to really understand what's going on beneath the surface before you commit. So here's how it works. A professional inspector goes through the property with a fine-tooth comb, checking everything from the roof and the structure to the plumbing and the electrical systems. This matters because it's often the only way to catch hidden issues that could cost a small fortune down the line. In other words, an inspection buys you peace of mind. You'll know if there's anything serious that you're going to need to address, and that knowledge gives you options to negotiate the repairs, ask for a credit, or even walk away if it's a deal breaker. It's your safeguard, and it is essential, so do not skip the inspection. And to that point, get a home inspection. I don't care if your neighbor's cousin swears that the house is solid. Always, always, always get a thorough inspection. Your dad doesn't count. Let me tell you about a breakdown story time here for a second. So I heard this story about a year ago about a home buyer who was advised in a very competitive market not to get a home inspection. So not at all. Okay. And comes to find out, after closing, her basement was a mess. And as such, since she didn't have a home inspection, she found out only after closing that the basement walls were on the verge of collapsing, which is going to cost about $100,000 to fix. Now, that's what I call a nasty surprise. So why on earth would you want to skip this critical step of you getting a future home? Now, if you want to avoid these nasty surprises, the home inspection is a non-negotiable. Skipping the inspection can lead to unpleasant disasters later. Plus, let's be real, the average fallout rate for most purchase contracts is about 20%. Most of that happens during the inspection phase. So if you're thinking that you're home free just because you got your offer accepted, you got to think again. You need to stay sharp, and you need to be ready to tackle any red flags that pop up. So the next thing that we're going to talk about is negotiating repairs. Now, here's a silver lining. Once you have the inspection report back, you're not just stuck with a list of issues. You can actually negotiate those repairs. Use this report to your advantage. You can request the seller to fix certain items or even ask for credits to cover the cost of those repairs. It's a powerful bargaining chip, and it can actually save you a ton of hassle and cash down the road. So the excitement is great, but don't let it cloud your judgment. So you need to embrace the inspection period as a chance to protect your investment and ensure your new home doesn't come with a bunch of hidden surprises. So got to roll up your sleeves, get that inspection done, and keep your eyes wide open. Don't ignore stuff. You made it this far. Don't let a few unexpected issues derail you from getting what you want. So congratulations, my friend. You have successfully picked an agent, picked a loan officer. You have gotten your offer accepted. You've made it through the inspection phase, and now you've officially made it to the after phase. So in the after phase, we're going to be diving into the appraisal. So what is an appraisal? It's actually a third party that comes out to verify the property's value matches the offer price of what you agreed to pay for it. Now, what this does is this ensures that you're not overpaying for a house that may not be worth what you are willing to pay for it. So just like an inspector, they will provide a report of their findings and their opinion of what the value is. So when you get the appraisal report back, there's only three things that can happen. The home will come in and appraise for exactly what the purchase price was. It'll come in above what you're buying it for. And then in that case, you have a little bit of built-in equity when you close. Now, here's where things can get a little bit dicey. What if the appraisal comes back in lower than what you offer? Well, you've got a few options on the table. So number one is the buyer can make up the difference. You can actually bring extra cash to closing if the appraisal comes in short. Kind of like pulling out your wallet and said, I'll pay for it no matter what it costs. The next thing is the seller will lower the purchase price to match the appraisal. After all, they don't want to scare off a buyer who's already in contract, already done the inspections, and is really close to closing. The next thing, number three, is the buyer and the seller can meet in the middle. You and the seller can actually negotiate a compromise meeting somewhere in the middle. And if all else fails, you can actually cancel the contract. No one really wants to go down this road, but it's better than feeling stuck in a deal that doesn't make sense. So as you navigate the appraisal process, remember, it's just another hurdle to clear on your way to closing. So keep your head up and stay flexible and know that you have the power to make the situation work in your favor. Now that you've made it through all of that and your home loan is final approved, you've made it to the final walkthrough. But let's be real, this is where the excitement can also meet some anxiety. So before you grab your housewarming gift, let's make sure that the home is in good shape and the seller did exactly what they promised to do up front. So first things first, you actually need to confirm that all those repairs that the seller said they were going to do were actually completed. So do you remember that leaky faucet or the hole in the drywall? Yeah, this is your last chance to ensure that the home is in the condition you expected. So do not skip this step. So really what you're going to be doing is you're going to be spot checking for any problems. Look for damage, missing fixtures, or even signs of neglect since you made an offer on the home. So is that corner of the living room suddenly covered in new stains? Or is there a mysterious hole in the wall that wasn't there last week? Or has the seller not even moved out yet? So your final walkthrough is just a formality, but it's important opportunity for you to ensure that everything is in order before you sign those final papers. Approach it like a detective in this case. And if anything feels off, do not hesitate to address it before going to closing. This is your future home and you deserve to start off on the right foot. So once you've confirmed that everything is as it should be, you can actually celebrate that your new space is without any scary surprises lurking in the shadows. All right, so here we are, standing on the brink of home ownership. But before you pop that confetti, let's talk about the last task that you need to complete, which is closing day. So you're about to face a mountain of paperwork that could rival probably your last tax return. So there will be a significant amount of paperwork to sign, and you will be sitting across from someone who is a title agent or an attorney, depending upon what state you're in. 90% of those documents are boilerplate by the lender, the title company, or the state you're in, and everyone who gets a home loan has to sign them. And the last 10% are specific to do with your home loan that you set up with your lender, like your payment, your interest rate, and your loan type. So just keep in mind as you're going through this process and you're reviewing the final numbers, it feel a little bit tedious, but just remember, it's part of the journey and home is not that far away. So before you rush in, you want to make sure that you're not going in empty-handed. So you're likely going to need your ID. You're likely going to need everyone who's going to be on the loan or on title present. You're going to need to bring either a cashier's check or have your money for your down payment wired ahead of time. So double check your bag before you leave. You want to glide to the closing like a boss and not scramble back home for documents while everyone else is just drinking coffee waiting for you to show back up. So let's be honest, buying a home involves a lot of steps, but that's why picking the right lender and the right agent can make all the difference. If you're browsing listings and thinking, wow, other people seem to have this all figured out, while I'm sitting here trying to figure out every single detail, trust me, you're not alone. Many first-time home buyers feel overwhelmed, but the good news is you're about to enter the next exciting chapter of your life. So now that you understand the before phase, the during phase, and the after phase, you're in a much better spot to navigate this process from start to finish. But here's the catch. Knowing these phases is just the beginning. So if you want to keep building on what you've learned today, this next video will take you deeper into the strategies that keep you moving forward. Make sure to check it out. It's going to be the perfect follow-up to help you on your path to buying your next place.